This video goes through the step-by-step process of removing and cleaning the CT200U mini bike carburetor. If after watching this video you are not comfortable performing this procedure, please call Coleman Power Sports at 888-405-8725 or go to colemanpower.com for the location of an authorized service center in your area. Warning: always make sure the mini bike is turned off and is cool to the touch before performing any maintenance procedures. Removing and cleaning the carburetor in this video requires safety glasses and gloves. Locate and remove the two nuts holding the air filter assembly to the carburetor with a 10mm wrench or socket. Place the choke and fuel valve levers to the left. Slide off the air filter assembly. Once the air filter assembly is removed, locate and remove the 6mm bolt holding the throttle linkage assembly to the engine. This bolt is removed using an 8mm socket or wrench. Slightly lift up the throttle linkage assembly and slide the carburetor out enough to have access to the throttle rod and spring. Carefully remove the throttle rod and spring. With a pair of pliers, remove the clamp on the fuel hose and then remove hose from the carburetor. Remove the poly air filter gasket spacer and then slide off the carburetor. Remove the carburetor gasket. If damaged, this will need to be replaced. The carburetor will need to be cleaned with a carburetor cleaner, which can be purchased at most motorcycle, automotive, or hardware stores. To avoid dirt from entering the carburetor when the carburetor is being taken apart, clean the outside of the carburetor thoroughly. With a 10mm wrench, remove the screw holding the bowl on the bottom of the carburetor. Remove the bowl and set aside. Locate the jet in the center post and then screw with a narrow flathead screwdriver. Once the jet screw is loosened, the carburetor will need to be tapped gently on a hard surface to dislodge the jet screw and the long jet from the inside of the center post. Remove the float and needle valve by first sliding out the pin hinge. Remove the bowl gasket. With a 10mm wrench, remove the sediment bowl and O-ring. Remove the choke lever. Before cleaning the inside of the carburetor and all parts, set the fuel valve to the on position. The inside of the carburetor will need to be cleaned with the carburetor cleaner. With the can of carburetor cleaner, spray all of the orifice throughout the carburetor, removing any debris. Spray through the jet screw. Spray through the elongated jet. Make sure all holes in the elongated jet are clear. Clean the bowl. Clean the sediment cup. Clean the float and needle valve. Now reassemble the carburetor. Install the elongated jet with the large flat portion of the jet facing the open end of the hole. Install the jet screw with a narrow flat head screwdriver. Insert the sediment cup O-ring. Attach the sediment cup. Install a float and needle valve. Attach the float with the hinge pin. Once the float is installed, gently operate the float, making sure there is free movement and the needle valve is working properly. Install the bowl gasket. Make sure it's seated properly. And then install the bowl. Attach the choke lever and make sure it operates correctly. Install the carburetor gasket to the engine assembly. Make sure it is oriented correctly. Slide on the carburetor. Attach the throttle rod and spring. Install the fuel hose and clamp. Slide the carburetor up against the engine, then reattach the throttle linkage assembly. Install the poly air filter spacer. Make sure it is oriented correctly and matches up to the carburetor. Install the air filter assembly. Insert the air filter breather hose into the top of the engine assembly. For questions regarding these instructions, please call Coleman Power Sports at 888-405-8725 or go to colemanpowered.com.